striking is a lot easier to learn than grappling, and here's why. So many of you will think that I'm biased because I'm mostly grappler, as you can see, but let me first say that something being more difficult to learn doesn't mean that it is better. Usually it's quite the opposite. So the modern competitive martial arts set themselves apart by giving you, with much less training, less time, a much higher fighting proficiency than many of the less effective styles that exist. But like a lot of discussion has been going on, is it more difficult to be a high level boxer or a high level grappler? And I've been thinking about that a lot and how to form an objective argument, because there are several points of view on it, several ways how to look at it. First of all, it's quite obvious that grappling is a much bigger thing overall. Boxing is a fairly small set of skills. So it's like 3 punches, straight, hook and uppercut, and variations of it. So that's kind of boxing, okay? And I know some defenses, some movements, etc., etc. And like judo alone has over 60 basic throws without variations, without accounting for left and right, okay? Without accounting of by walking forward and backward or variations in grip, etc., etc. And like there's 5 basic positions, okay? So in standing, you always stand. So I either stand with a bigger distance, lower distance, more left, more right, but it's always that 2-dimensional space. And in grappling, you can have very different positions, okay? Like laying on top, to the side, on his back, between his leg, with one leg, with the other leg, with the legs across the body, and you get it, right? But something being more complex does not mean it being more difficult. So that's a big difference. We need to differentiate. There's many sports that are very simplistic, but it's incredibly difficult to be good at it. Like the 100-meter sprint is as simplistic as it is. Everybody that is relatively healthy can do a 100-meter sprint. But it is very difficult to be a high-level sprinter. Or shooting, it's as simple as it gets, like point and trigger, and that's it. That's all there is to most shooting disciplines. But it is very difficult to be a good shooter. So what other argument can we find to see what is more difficult to be high level in? Okay? Because like the other question would be, who is stronger, a grappler or a boxer? But that doesn't determine what is more difficult. Okay? But look at that argument, and I'm very much looking forward to hear your answers to it. So it is easier to be boxing world champion than it is to be wrestling world champion. By a huge margin. Because now I've already heard you like, oh, wow, that's not true. Listen, when did Anthony Joshua start boxing? Like at 18 years old? When did Deontay Wilder start boxing? 16 years old. There's many high-level boxers that started at like 16, 17, 18, 20 years old and became high-level boxers. That is absolutely unheard of in wrestling. That is non-existent. Okay, so you gotta start wrestling at a very young age. That means like almost every internationally competitive wrestler has started at 6, 7, 8 years old. I don't know of a single world-class wrestler that started at 15 years old or even later. Like some of them maybe, I know one that started at 12, which is comparatively late. So based on that, it takes more to be a high-level wrestler than it takes to be a high-level boxer. You need more years of training, you need to start younger, you need to give more into it. So I'd say that serves as a good argument, as a strong argument, that wrestling is more difficult to be high level at than boxing. And based on that, that grappling as a complete system is more difficult to learn. It contains more. Even in BJJ, which is a relatively young sport, I know of like one champion who started at maybe 16 years old, and all the other ones, they started a lot younger. I wouldn't know of a single high level competitor in BJJ that started at 18, 19, 20 years old and didn't have BJJ training before. So that is my opinion, that is my main argument about why grappling is more difficult to learn and more difficult to be a high level competitor, a high level athlete, a high level practitioner in than it is for striking. Let me know what you think about that, and see you next time.